Good morning, everyone. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP Bangladesh. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I am your host for the morning. My name is Yani Sapta Chaudhary and I am from Bangladesh. Dear Knowledge Seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. IGP, a non-profit organization, is a social and ISO certified international training institute. In 3 years, we already served 3 million knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 250 plus professions and 4,500 plus organizations. Institute of Global Professional IGP and ISO 9001, 2015 and 10000 2018 is the training faculty for skill development which was founded in 2020 and is generating component candidates to meet demand in the global labor market by providing professional qualification. The Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute that provides social work globally recognized and reputable. We serve a student and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it is not effective to increase one's skill just by acquiring formal education. So provide effective training and consultation to generate professional generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, and internationally to students, job seeker, job holder, and also for learners to respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institution. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminars, courses, awards, quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling aids. On the other side, we are also trying to serve more than 100 premium services for free like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and one knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge, which can upgrade all day. Kids Learning Game website, free courses, converter set, and many, many more. We help to empower youth to learn to meet their expectations and dreams and become highly skilled people. We implement several trainings, programs, webinars, and offline online courses for youth and learners by professional trainers, speakers, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kinds of youth and to promote the education of their abilities and personalities. To ensure excellent and in-depth instruction, we arrange with qualified trainers, speakers, and instructors. We extend free services to more than 3 million knowledge seekers in the last 3 years. We have affiliations with universities and organizations in 70 different countries. Virtual moon signing with many colleges and organizations have been accomplished. We are working to create a legendary generation of future scholars and citizens who will be accountable. We are constantly prepared to assist all knowledge seekers with valuable service. Spreading knowledge is a crucial for the Institute of Global Professional. We believe that Knowledge is love, light, and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and we serve them with good research and practice method. We must have a genuine concern for the learners. We represent more diversity, growth, and innovation are required. To lead a session with professionalism, passion, and integrity, IGP members are committed to offering effective based quality service and continual improvement so that individuals who seek information can improve their skill levels and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind you don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friends in the comment box. Your support is very valuable to us. Thank you. I repeat, before we move to the next, let me remind you don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in the comment box. Your support is very valuable to us. Thank you. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1,250 webinars successfully. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we already completed 1,251 webinars successfully. At present, we are going to start our 1,252, and our program name is Guides for IELTS Experience Speaking. Uh, we have our speaker name is Ma'am Shulamiti Baktuna. Before I hand over the stage to our ma'am, want to share a very little about our speaker. She is from Philippines. She is FAB Education IELTS trainer, IELTS speaking mock test certificate score 9, experience in IELTS ESL teaching. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, hello. Good morning.
Uh, ma'am, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good. Ma'am, give some description about yourself, then you can start your presentation.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss MC. So, my name is Shulamite Bagtuna. I am a licensed professional teacher here in the Philippines, but I choose to be an IELTS trainer since 2017. So, yeah. And yeah, until now, that is actually what I do.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, now I can start.
Okay. Hello. Thank you so much again. All right, so as I have mentioned earlier, my name is Shulamite Bagtuna, and yes, I have been an IELTS trainer. And before I start, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to participate here in my presentation today. Okay, so I appreciate the time and the effort that you lent today. Okay, so my presentation is entitled Guide for IELTS Aspirants, but I'm going to cover only the speaking part because it would take us the whole day if we're going to talk about all of the areas. Okay, so let's have the introduction. Okay, what is IELTS really? So IELTS is an international English language testing system which has the objective to assess the English language proficiency on non-native English speakers. Okay, so again, um, that's the reason why there are a lot of test takers from Asia. So if we are going to check the record, um, India, China, Philippines are actually the holders of the highest number of test takers when it comes to IELTS. And I'm not sure if I'm right, but IELTS is also one of the most expensive IELTS exam. Okay, so it has two types. The first one is the IELTS academic test. So this is for the students who are interested in pursuing their higher education abroad. So if you want to have postgraduate degree or undergraduate degree in UK, in US, or any English speaking country, most probably they are going to require this kind of exam. Okay, the next one is the IELTS general training. So in this type, it focuses mainly on assessing a person's proficiency, confidence, and comfort when communicating in English in daily situations. So what is actually the difference of these two exams? Um, well, when it comes to the writing part, it's quite different. But when it comes to speaking, they're just the same. However, for general training, of course, it's mostly focused on the general areas like that. Though there's a very little distinction, honestly, when it comes to the speaking part. So all in all, they're just the same. Okay. Now let's move on for the test format. Okay, how long will it take? What are the parts? So we have this. Okay. It would take 11 and 14 or 11 to 14 minutes. So that's quite long. But it's fine. Once you're already there, you won't feel that it's already done. So it has three parts. The first one is the introduction and the interview. So this would take 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, the questions that they're going to ask you here are quite easy. Well, not really very easy because, of course, you are going to give an IELTS answers. Okay, so that's probably around 6 questions, depending on the time and also depending on the length of your answers in each question. And as much as possible, do not give only one sentence answer. Okay, if you can, try to give 2 to 3 full sentences. Okay, and please remember as well that in part one, this is like a casual conversation with the examiner. So, relatively, it is, I mean, you have to give an easy and straightforward answer. You don't need to give a very complicated or um, yeah, a very high level word, because in here it's just the introduction part yet. Like you and the examiner are having casual chat or something. Like they're going to check how can you communicate very well. Okay, when it comes to those kinds of easy questions. Okay, so you reserve your very long answer for the part two and part three. Okay. For the part two, this is what we call as individual long term because you are going to speak for 2 minutes. Okay. 1 to 2 minutes, they say, but it would be better if you are going to speak for 2 minutes. However, it's not necessary that you really need to fill that 2 minutes if you think you have already gave all the information that you need to say. Because sometimes um, there are some students wherein if they're not yet finished, I mean, if the time is not yet up and they're already done, they would just, say anything just to fill in that 2 minutes. But actually, there would be a tendency that you will have a markdown because you have been telling things that are not supposed to be there. Okay, so what's important is your story in part two is complete. You know that you have given everything that's supposed to be given, and you're confident that you coherently or fluently give the answer that they need. Okay. So for the part three, this is what we call as two-way discussion, and it's the same with part one. It's 4 to 5 minutes. However, the difference is that the questions are quite more difficult than in part one because in here you're not only going to talk about yourself or something, you're not only going to talk about your place or your country, you're going to talk about the society and the world. So, most probably, the questions here are quite general. You're not going to consider only a very limited information here, but rather you have to justify, you have to explain your main ideas. Okay. So the questions here are shorter because, I mean, are fewer because the answers are longer. Okay. Unlike in part one, wherein you can have 6 questions or seven. Okay. So that's it for the test format. Now moving on, let's discuss that one. Okay. Part one, yeah, as we have mentioned earlier, is the introduction in the interview. So the examiner introduces him or herself and asks you to introduce yourself and confirm your identity. Remember, they're going to check your ID as well. And it would be better, I mean, it is better if the ID that you're going to show during your examination would be the ID that you use when you book for the class or when you register for it. I mean, for the test, not the class. Okay, so if you use passport in registering your test, then it would be better if that's what you're going to show during your examination for consistency purposes. Okay, so the examiner asks you general questions on familiar topics. Examples are home, family, work, studies, and interest. Okay. However, there are also random questions that may come up. Okay. Let's see some examples of those questions. All right. Music, chocolate. We have art, t-shirt. So see, there's t-shirt. Okay. This is quite an unexpected topic as well because they would really ask anything under the sun. Okay. Weekends, jewelry, outer space and stars, schools, staying up, library, happy things, keys, small business, and a lot more. Okay, so these are actually the topics for today, January to April 2023. So if you're preparing for an examination today, it would be better if you will also get familiar with these kinds of topics. So if you notice, we have here chocolate, t-shirt, outer space, and stars, and anything there. Even if you're not familiar, or even if you don't like or not interested with these kinds of topics, you have no choice but to prepare it. Okay, so that's challenging, right? Okay, moving on. Um, let's try to get one from those topics. Okay, example, music. Okay, they might probably ask you, what music do you like? What music do you dislike? Do you often listen to one type of music? What music do your friends like? Do you enjoy the same type of music with your friends? What's the most popular type of music where you live? And which singer or musician would you like to see in person? Do you think those questions are quite easy? Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on your interest, right? However, there's one thing that I want you to remember when you're preparing as much as possible. Please do not repeat the question when they are asking you, okay? I mean, when you're answering, do not repeat the question. Like example, they ask you, what music do you like? Do not say the music that I like is, well, that's fine, honestly, but it depends on how you're going to continue, okay? So yeah, um, repetition of question is still considered as repetition, and we know that that would actually affect your score. Okay, example, what music do your friends like? The music that my friends like are, so it's like repeating, right? Because that means you don't have a wide range of vocabulary. Why do you need to repeat the question? You can actually use other vocabularies to start your answer rather than repeating the question. Okay, let's try one of these questions. Okay, what's the most popular type of music where you live? Okay, so if you notice the first sentence didn't repeat the question, we can say, I believe that the most popular type of music in my country is pop music. It is enjoyed by people of all ages and is played on the radio and television regularly. Many local and international artists produce pop music that is enjoyed by the masses, and concerts featuring pop musicians are always well attended. All right. So, yes, you can start with sentence starters such as I believe, in my observation, in my opinion, well, I noticed that people here usually like blah, 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 right? Okay. So the words I believe, people of all ages, well attended were highlighted because if you notice, these kinds of words are considered not very common, or that means it can actually show that your vocabulary is not okay in a very common list. Okay. Now the question is, if I answer this way, can I surely get a high score? It depends. Okay. I can say no, I can say yes. Why? Well, it depends on how you pronounce the word. Because even if your answer is this, okay, even if it's this, if the way that you pronounce the words are quite hard to understand by your, I mean, it's very hard to understand, or let's say some of the words were not enunciated very well, the speed is so fast or the speed is so low, the tone is not good, or the intonation were used in wrong places, then I can say no. So it really depends, okay? Because even if we have wonderful ideas in our minds, if the way that we present it is not clear to your listener or to the listener, then we have to think again. Okay. Moving on, part 2. So this is also what they call as individual long turn. Okay, and that would take 3 to 4 minutes. In this part, the examiner gives you a task card, sorry, or we also call it a cue card, which asks you to talk about a particular topic and which includes points you can cover in your talk. So, this is the only part that you are given 1 minute to prepare your talk. You are also given, or you got to provide you pencil and paper to make notes. And then for the answering part, you can talk for 1 to 2 minutes. And the examiner may then ask you one or two questions on the same topic, which is called the follow up question. So that would be after you tell your story. Okay. So if you notice, it says here 1 minute to prepare, 2 minutes to talk. But why is it that it will be up to 4 minutes? Okay, so of course this is because of the um, follow-up questions. The last part here, it says the examiner may then ask you one or two questions. Okay, so that's it. Let's have an example. This is an example of cue card. Okay, and in the part 1, they're not going to show you the questions. Also in part 3, but in part 2 they will. Okay, so this is again the only part wherein you can see the questions. So in part 1 and part 3, you have to listen very well. Okay, so the example here is describe your favorite place in your house where you can relax. That's the main question. Now we have here some sub questions or guide questions. Okay, you should say where it is, what it is like, what you enjoy doing there, and explain why you feel relaxed at this place. Okay, so after that, you're given 1 minute. Actually, they're not going to mention this one, the sub questions. The examiner will only mention the main question. Okay, and then the timer will start. Okay, question. Can I see the timer? No. Okay. Well, sorry to say, but it's really no, because the timing is the responsibility of the examiner. So that's the reason why when you are preparing for the exam, you have also to practice time management. Like you have to make sure in part 2 that you will share a story within 2 minutes or less. Okay. Because I encountered situation wherein I had a lot of students before wherein it's already 30 seconds left before they started their story. The 1 minute and 30 seconds in the beginning were all like, going around the bush or just introduction. So that's one thing that we need to avoid. Okay. The introduction should not take 1 minute. Okay. As much as possible, please practice the time management, because time is really one of the most important thing here in this test. Okay. What if I did not yet finish my answer after 2 minutes? Well, whether you finish it or not, the examiner have to interrupt you, because they're quite strict when it comes to the time, the time frames. Okay. So anyway, going back to the topic or the cue card that we have here, let's have an example. Okay. The first example answer here is, okay. All right. My favorite place to relax at home is my living room. So that's the main answer, right? Okay. One of the most common mistakes as well that I noticed is that they repeat the question, like saying, "Today I'm going to describe my favorite place in the house where I can relax." You don't need to mention that. You can go directly to the topic, or you can give a quick introduction, but not repeating the question if possible. Okay. So, yeah, after the main idea, go on and continue telling a story about that main answer that you provided. Okay, so why? Why do you like that living room? It's spacious. Sorry, it's a spacious and comfortable area located at the front of my house. The room has large windows that let in a lot of natural light and provide a nice view of my garden. The walls are painted in a soft, neutral color, and the furniture is arranged in a way that makes the space feel open and inviting. When I'm in my living room, I enjoy sitting on my couch and reading a good book or watching a movie on my big screen. Sometimes I like to listen to calming music, which I sip on a cup of tea or coffee. I also have a few indoor plants and the room, which add a touch of greenery and create a peaceful atmosphere. Okay, so that's just an example. We don't need to read it all. Okay. If you notice, there were a lot of words here that were highlighted. Okay. Why did I highlight that? Okay. It is very important that when we are describing something, do not only use one word. Okay. Especially if you are targeting for a high score, show them that you have a lot of vocabularies in your mind. Okay. Like example, the second sentence, the speaker describes the area. So we cannot just say, oh, the area is beautiful. It's a beautiful area. It's a good area. No. Why don't you put like two or three describing words? It's a spacious and comfortable area. It's wonderful and convenient area, right? It sounds better. Okay. Another one when she describes the color, we cannot just say it's a good color. Actually, good is one of the most overrated adjective. It's always good, good, good. Okay, so try to use more specific vocabularies like, soft, neutral color, bright, bright and relaxing color, those kinds of words, right? Okay. Another one, when the speaker describes what she or he does in the living room, he did not only say, I love watching movies in the living room, or I love sitting down on my sofa. No, you can add more, like, reading a good book, watching a movie on my big screen. So, see, there's also a description of the TV, right? Actually, the good thing about giving a lot of descriptions in part two is that your listener or your examiner can picture or can imagine what you're saying, right? So if you notice in this answer, if you're the listener, you can already imagine what she or he wants to say. It's organized, the descriptions are there. Um, the story is so positive. You can even feel the mood of the story. Okay, and that's one of your goals when you're answering part two. You have to make sure that your listener or your examiner feels the mood or understands very well what you really want to say. Okay, so enough for that. Okay, we have here another sample answer. Let's see. Okay, one of my favorite places in my house where I can relax is my reading nook, which is located in a corner of my living room. It's a small, cozy space that I've set up with a comfortable armchair, a small bookshelf, and a soft rug. The reading nook is a peaceful and quiet spot where I can escape from the noise and distractions of daily life. I love spending time there, curled up with a good book, a cup of tea, and a warm blanket. Sometimes I also like to listen to relaxing music or a meditation app while I read. Okay, what's the mood of the story? Can you feel it? So it's so relaxing, right? Okay. I won't explain much about this one because it's the same explanation with the first sample, but this is just another answer this way. Okay. Moving on. We have here more sample topics. So earlier, it's a place that you relax. We also have a lot here, like a time. Describe a time when you taught a friend or relative about something. Um, Describe a person you met at a party who you enjoyed talking with. Describe a complaint that you made and you were satisfied with the result. So it looks like you have to remember all the experiences that you had in the past in order for you to formulate a good answer in here, right? And actually, there are a lot more. I only put here a few. Okay, so describe a time when you taught a friend or relative about something. What are you going to say? Probably when you taught about a skill or when you taught about a specific topic in their school, anything. You can have your own topic. Just make sure that choose something that is quite, that is easy to explain, all right, or something that can be easily understood by your examiner. Okay, all right. Next up, let's have the part three. So this is also what we call, or what they call, as two-way discussion. And the same with part one, it would take 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. In here, the examiner asks further questions which are connected to the topic of part two. Again, connected to the topic of part two, not your answer in part two. There were a lot who get confused here because when the examiner says, today I'm going to ask you questions which is connected to part two, they would understand that the topics or the answers that they're going to give are connected to their answer in part two. No, not really, okay? So, part three are general questions. It's not about your answer in part two. Okay. These questions give you an opportunity to discuss more abstract issues and ideas about the society and the world, as we have mentioned earlier. Okay. We have here some examples. So, earlier, the topic in part two is about a place to relax. Okay, so these are the possible questions in part three related to that. Okay. Why is it difficult for some people to relax? So, since this is a general idea, we're not only referring to the people in your country, in your city. No, we're referring to general public. Okay. So, you're going to talk about um, what most people experience. Okay. Why do you think it's very difficult for them to relax? Maybe because they're stressed, depressed, thinking a lot of things, very busy because of the hustle and bustle of the city that they always say. Okay, a lot of things to do. Well, in here, you can base your answer according to what you observe. Okay, so you can say, in my observation, one of the most common reason is blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can say one. And the next, you will add more, like, in addition, another reason is blah, 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 right? Okay, so in part three, as much as possible, we should give like two or three main answers to avoid, to avoid giving long explanation. And mostly what happened is that it is very hard to explain a lot. However, if you think you can explain a lot with that one specific topic only, then that would be good as well. So it really depends, okay? It's all about you. Okay. Um, what are the benefits of doing exercise? Okay, do people in your country exercise after work? So in this third question, this is already quite limited in your country only. Okay, at least you can say something. You can say a lot here because you're quite familiar with what you see around you. Okay, what is the place where people spend most of their time in their phone? In their home, sorry. Do you think there should be classes for training young people and children how to relax? Well, for me, this is a yes. Okay. But it depends on your answer, actually. All right. Which is more important, mental relaxation or physical relaxation? What do you think? You can say mental relaxation. You can also say physical relaxation. You can also say both, or you can also say it depends. Okay. Just remember again, whatever is your main answer, you have to make sure that you can explain it very well. Okay. All right. We have here an example. Okay, the first question was, why is it difficult for some people to relax, right? Okay, yes. Um, if you notice, the question is quite long. I mean, the answer is quite long, but that's really part three. Okay. There can be several reasons why some people find it difficult to relax. As an introduction, one common reason is the presence of high levels of stress and anxiety in their lives, which can make it challenging to switch off and calm down. So, if you notice, the sentence was not very simple. He or she, I mean, the speaker uses the word which to connect, I mean, to add more information, which makes the sentence complex. Okay. This can be due to work related pressures, financial worries, relationship problems, or other personal issues. Okay, so the speaker did not only mention one example, but rather it's like one, two, three, four, right? It shows that the speaker has a lot of vocabularies in her mind. Okay. Now, additional main idea, okay, another reason could be the constant use of technology and social media, which can create a constant sense of urgency and distract people from taking the time to relax and recharge. Okay, and lastly, furthermore, certain personality traits such as perfectionism, high achievement orientation, and the constant need for control can make it difficult for some people to let go and unwind. Okay, do you agree? Well, I'm not sure. But remember that whether the examiner agrees with your opinion or not, it does not affect your score, okay? Again, IELTS exam is not knowledge based, but rather they focus more on the criteria, okay? Yes. So, what are those criteria? We're going to talk about that later on. Okay. So, we have here another example. Do people in your country exercise after work? Okay, let's try an example. Here in Australia, okay, or here in the Philippines, or here in China, I observed that it is common for people to exercise after work. Okay, if you notice, the word I observed was used because that's the most appropriate thing. Okay, one of the most common mistakes that I always hear is the word I think. I think. Well, that's okay, honestly. The word I think is okay, but if it's already used like more than 5 times, then it would already affect your score because that's repetition and it will also show that you don't have wide range of vocabulary. Okay. So let's continue. Okay, this is because many individuals have busy work schedules and find it challenging to fit in exercise during the day. Additionally, exercise is a great way to relieve stress and unwind after a long day at work. Okay, when I am in the city center, all right, I saw poster ads that offer classes and facilities that cater to individuals who exercise after work. Okay, again, if you notice, the answer is organized because the sentence starters were used appropriately. Like here in blah, 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 I observed that, okay, we also have the word this is because there's also a word additionally. When I'm in the city center, those kinds of things, right? So from now on, you also have to master practicing what sentence starters you're going to use to avoid repetitive starters, okay? Most of the repetitive ones are I think, in my opinion, and what's that? I think, in my opinion, and well, okay? I don't know, but that's one of their favorites. So it's okay to use those as long as not too much. Okay. Moving on, we have here key criteria. So how do they score you? Okay. Here are the band descriptors. Mhm. Okay. No, here are the key criteria. I mean, not band descriptors. I'm sorry, this is a mistake. Okay. Fluency and coherence. Lexical resource. They will also check your grammatical range and accuracy or your grammar and your pronunciation. All of these actually actually shows how well can you communicate in English. So if you have high scores on all of this, then that means that your communication skill is really good. Like, you can socialize with anyone in the world speaking in English. Like, you don't have hard time doing that. Okay. So let's talk about it one by one. Okay. Hold on. Give me a moment. I'm sorry. Okay. Um, Fluency and coherence is also 25%. Okay. Yeah, 25%. Actually, all of them are 25%. Okay. Like fluency and coherence, 25%. Lexical resource, also 25. Grammar, 25. And pronunciation, also 25. Okay. So, what is fluency? Your examiner will look at how fluent you are, of course, from the word fluency. Okay, so they will check your ability to keep speaking, and if you need to hesitate, self correct, and repeat yourself to keep going. All right. So, are you the kind of person who always hesitates or self corrects or always repeat? Be careful, it will affect your fluency. All right. We cannot actually avoid self correction because me myself, I always have a lot of self corrections. If you notice, I already had a lot earlier, right? Okay, that's fine, but you have to do it in a way that it should not be too much, or in case you had an error or you committed a mistake in your sentence, you have to self correct it in the right way. Okay, like example, um, when I went to Australia, oh, China, so there was a self correction, right? When I went to Australia, oh, China, so the Australia is the wrong one. What you actually mean is China. You are going to say in a way that it's clean. Like example, when I went to Australia, I mean in China, something like that, right? Because even if you try to change the wrong word immediately, for sure the examiner already noticed that, right? We cannot. Some students think that, oh, I have to change it immediately while the examiner didn't notice it yet. No, that does not apply actually in exam because the ears of the examiners are very sharp. Yeah, they would really listen to every word. They're trained to do that. Okay, so you cannot say that he might or she might miss it. No, no, not really. So that's why when we do self corrections, you have to do it. Yeah, you have to do it in a clean way. Yeah, it should not affect the speed or your fluency. Okay, coherence. In here, your examiner will look at how coherent you sound, how your words, your ideas, and thoughts flow together. Using a range of words and phrases to connect and organize your ideas, help you move on to another point, and so on. Okay, so if you notice the sample answers that we talked about earlier, the way that they organize the answer that the way that the answer was organized was that um, there were sentence starters so that the flow of the answer will not be confusing or will not be very messy, right? Okay, so that would affect your coherence really. Okay, so what are the possible words that you will use to introduce the next topic? What words will you use to add, if you want to add more, right? What words are you going to use if you want to give an example? Those kinds of things. Okay, moving on. These are the words that we can use to give a more organized answers. So we have a lot actually, but I just grab few of them, like some of them. Okay, we have here first, second. I noticed that. We also have in addition. I must admit. Then next, or in other words, another. Then ideally. Okay, we also have the last one. Well, I believe absolutely, to be honest, those ones. Personally, for me, okay, there are really a lot. All right. Now, moving on to the next criteria is the lexical resource. Okay, so with this descriptor, examiner will be listening for your ability to choose the right words and phrases to express yourself clearly. Okay, do you think the words that you're using are appropriate? Okay. Do you have a wide range of vocabulary to express everything that you want to say? Well, we don't know, but it would be better if that's the case, right? Okay. Now, your words, your examiner will consider the kinds of words you use, whether they help make your ideas clear or whether not, right? Okay, and whether the words are understandable, appropriate, and relevant to the topic. Okay, again, does the words that you choose make your ideas clear or just make it confusing, right? Okay, we also have here paraphrasing or idioms. Okay, the use of idiomatic language and less common words are important at higher levels, which is band 7 and up. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to use idioms if you're targeting 5. Not really. Of course, you can still use it. However, for idioms, this can actually give you a an additional score, or yes, it shows that your vocabulary is really not very low, something like that. However, okay, please remember this one because this is also one of the most common issues. um, there are a lot of students wherein they memorize a lot of idiomatic expressions thinking that they might get higher score. So if you do that, I appreciate you, of course. However, please do not use an idiomatic expression or high level vocabulary which you are not 100% confident on how to use it. Okay? Because once the idiomatic expression was used in a wrong way or in a wrong place, then that would already be a markdown on your lexical resource. Okay? I'll give you an example. Um, the question is, the question is, what do you usually do in the morning? So this is part one, okay? I asked this one from one of my students. What do you usually do in the morning? And then she said, I love going to the garden to breathe a fresh oxygen. Okay, breathe fresh oxygen. Well, that's good. She uses the word oxygen because it's true, we breathe oxygen, right? However, it's not appropriate, okay? If you want to make that sentence better, it would be, I mean, it's better if you're going to say, I usually go to the garden and have a breath of fresh air, right? Rather than saying, I go there to breathe fresh oxygen. Okay, so though they are similar, however, they have their own way of, I mean, it has is, we have to use it in the right way, okay? So that's just one example. Another example that I heard before is that there was a situation that the examiner notices that the student or the aspirant actually memorized the answers. Now, the examiner asked a question that is not on the list of the topic. You know what the examiner asked? Um, can you describe this ball pen? Can you describe this pen or tell me something about this pen? Okay, the student said, well, I'm over the moon when you ask me that question. Okay, so we know that over the moon means very happy, right? However, they just ask you to tell something about the ball pen, so you don't need to say I'm over the moon because usually when we use the over the moon, it is a situation when you are describing something that is really exciting, amazing. Like example, you passed the IELTS exam, or you already graduated, or you heard that your friend is getting married, those kinds of things. But if they just ask you something that is very common, we cannot say I'm over the moon. You ask me that question, right? So those are the times that we need to use the right word for every specific questions, okay? All right. Um, Next one of the most important thing as well is the grammatical range and accuracy. Okay. So it is also important to try and limit the number of grammatical errors that you make. Become aware of the errors that you usually make. Example, the articles, prepositions, subject-verb agreement. Okay. So that you can make sure that your sentences are accurate. Okay, so this also talks about your sentence structures and variations. Okay, all right. So, well, grammar is already very familiar to everyone, okay, to all of us. And that's one thing that we always have to remember, because once you, once there is something wrong with the grammar, it might actually mean a different thing, okay? Or it would be confusing for your listener. Okay, moving on here. All right, pronunciation. How well you are understood. Okay, actually, this is one of the reasons why, even if the student has wonderful ideas, it would still have a, they would still get a lower score because of the pronunciation. So we feel sorry for those who really have a lot of ideas, but it's really hard to understand because of the pronunciation. So when you're preparing, make sure that you enunciate and syllabicate the words. Okay, so when we say enunciate, it should be very clear. The letters should be clearly heard, especially the letter S, the letter ed. Okay, the past tense with ed, words with d sound, the f, the v. Those are the most common that we notice, though actually it depends on your first language. Okay. So I consider S as one of the most dangerous, because once the examiner did not hear the S, then that already means a different thing. Example, you said, or you mentioned, there were many students. You're supposed to say there were many students in the school canteen, but you did not emphasize the S, so you just said there were many students in the school canteen. Then that's already a markdown, because you have to use plural form, right? Since you already said there were many. However, you did not realize that the S was not emphasized. Okay, so that's what I mean. All right, the subject verb agreement. Okay, so your examiner will be listening for how easy it is to understand you, how clearly and correctly your errors made how clearly your errors made when you say your words or pronounce the words. Okay, they will also listen to how you use the stress and intonation to emphasize important words and ideas. Okay, and the use of stress to contrast ideas. Okay, well, we know that English language is actually a stress time language, right? Why did they say it's stress timed? It is because, if you notice, a lot of, or all English words have their own stress. And once you put the stress in the wrong place, then that's already considered as wrong pronunciation, right? Okay. Um, Example, the word elementary. The stress is supposed to be on the men, right? Elementary. But if you mentioned elementary, well, that's already considered as mispronounced words, right? Okay. Though for me, the enunciation is still very important rather than the stress. That's only for me, okay? Because even if the stress is placed in the wrong way, as long as the letters were emphasized clearly, then for sure your listener will still understand what you really want to say. Okay. All right. So those are, that's it about the criteria, about the parts. Now we have here myths to debunk. Okay. Um, Honestly, when you're going to read information about IELTS in different websites or books, you will notice that some of the information are not consistent, right? But whether that's true or not, we still have to think of the criteria, because that's the most important thing that we need to consider. Okay, let's have the first one. A native accent or slang is necessary to score better. Is this true? Well, no, not really. Okay, why? Your examiner is not there to ensure you have the same accent as him or her. Your accent or slang is not part of the evaluation criteria and does not affect your score. Okay, so I hope that you don't worry much about that. Okay, what's important is that you should be paying attention to what is being evaluated: your pronunciation, your grammar, the fluency and coherence of your argument, and your conversation. Okay, so yeah, the accent is not really one thing that you have to consider very well because we cannot avoid that. We all came from first language, right? Okay, I have to agree with my examiner's opinion. No, that's not true, of course. Okay, as we have mentioned earlier, IELTS is not a knowledge based examination. Okay, so if your teacher, I mean, if your examiner said that the best animal or the best pet is cat, and for you it's not, well, no problem. Okay, what's important is that you were able to justify what you have mentioned, right? You have to explain why you said that. Whether the examiner will agree to your opinion or not, it should not be an issue. Okay? So engaging with your examiner in a conversation doesn't mean you need to always agree with their opinion or statement, especially if you do not believe in them. Okay? You're not being evaluated if your ideas match with theirs or not. It is about engaging in a fluent conversation with good grammar, pronunciation, with coherence. Okay, so again, it's just about the criteria, right? Okay. Actually, this does not only apply in IELTS exam. It also applies in, in other areas like your friends. It should not affect your relationship if you don't agree with one idea, right? If your idea is different from the other. Okay. Moving on, I cannot ask the examiner to repeat a question. Well, no, this is not true. A lot of students are actually afraid or worried when they ask a question because they might think that it affects their score, or they might think that the examiner will not repeat the question anymore. But now, don't be afraid, okay? In the IELTS speaking test, you are allowed to ask the examiner to repeat a question if you did not hear or understand it clearly, okay? You're also allowed to ask for clarification if you are unsure about the meaning of a word or phrase. However, it's important to remember that the IELTS speaking test is a test of your English language proficiency. So, it's best to avoid asking the examiner for help with the content of your responses. Okay? So, they're not going to give you any clue about the question, I mean about what you're going to say, but rather they'll just only clarify what you didn't understand or just limited to the question that you didn't understand. Okay, so it's better to try to express yourself using the vocabulary and grammar that you know. Okay, you don't need to ask their ideas or something. You just focus on what you know, and that's what you are going to expand. Okay, and additionally, excessive questioning or interrupting the examiner could negatively impact your test scores. Okay, so what do I mean here? Though it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to let them repeat the question or clarify, but excessive questioning is not already good because it shows that your listening skill is already poor. Well, not really. Maybe you're very nervous or something, but yeah, do not ask too much questions though. Okay. Mm, being polite and courteous will help me score better. Really? No. Okay. Well, anyway, all the answers here are no. Okay. Being polite, courteous, and smiling should be part of the basic manners when engaging with anyone in a conversation, right? Even when we were kids, they already taught us how to behave well, and that's already natural, supposedly, as a human. Even if not in the IELTS examination, even when we are communicating with other people, we really have to be courteous and polite, right? So, this is not about your score already. It's about being you. It's about your personality, right? Okay, so it does help the interaction move forward. However, it is not part of the evaluation criteria. So you should not worry about being overly polite, but focus on the conversation and topic at hand. Okay? But I suggest you have to smile, of course, especially when when you meet the examiner, you have to smile and do not frown, do not slouch. Okay, you sit properly, though it will not affect your score, I know, but it helps your confidence, your composure. Okay. And one more thing, I don't know if this is true or applicable to add to everyone, but I believe that smiling can actually helps you in pronouncing the words. Yes. Okay. Next up, if I don't know the answer to a question, I might get penalized. Really? No. Okay. Again, as we have mentioned earlier, I'm sorry if I keep on repeating this one, but IELTS is not knowledge based. Okay. So your knowledge of particular topics isn't being tested here. Your examiner will be paying attention to how you say things and the flow of the conversation and not what you say, right? Okay. So again, what's important is you will expand whatever the main idea that you have mentioned. So if you said that the dog or the cat is the best pet in the world, then you have to justify that, right? If you said that the most popular application in your country is WhatsApp or Facebook, that is not actually that is not true in other countries, then you also have to justify it, right? That's IELTS. Okay, it doesn't need to be. I mean, the information doesn't need to be correct for general public. It's about you or your observation. Okay, and of course, yes, your knowledge. Okay. Um, while knowing the topic can definitely help, you can possibly prepare for every possible topic. Yes. So whatever you know, that's what where you're going to get your ideas and expand. If you do not know the answer, you can always draw from personal experience or give your own opinion on the subject to engage and move the conversation ahead. Again, it says here your own opinion. Yes. So whether your opinion is really true for others or not, it's okay. Okay. Again, this is what we have mentioned earlier. Okay, it's not a knowledge based test in the traditional sense, but rather it's an assessment. Okay. All right. So the focus of the test is on your ability to use the English language in a range of contexts and situations rather than on a specific knowledge. The test is designed to evaluate your spoken English proficiency in terms of fluency, coherence, grammar, and pronunciation. So again, the bottom line here is the criteria. Okay, so you will be asked a range of questions on various topics, and you are expected to demonstrate your ability to express everything that you know and to expand it. So this can be your ideas, your expressions, your experiences, your opinions, okay, your dreams or your future plans, your goals. It's up to you. Okay, next one. Using high level vocabularies and idiomatic expressions ensure a high score. Okay, I bet we have already talked about this earlier. Again, it depends on how you use it, if it's in the right place, right? Because even if you use a lot of high vocabularies, if you use them in a wrong way, it will not ensure a high score. Okay? Especially the memorized one, by the way. Yeah, we discourage memorizing. Okay. So I guess that's it. All right. Yeah, no more. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. So, to everyone who's going to take the IELTS test this year, okay, or next year, wishing you all the best on your test. Okay, do your best. Do not be nervous. All right. Remember, the exam is very expensive, so you have to do your best. Okay. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your rich content presentation, which can impact our knowledge seekers surely. After your presentation, I have our knowledge seekers can learn something new, which is our only intention, learn and put together IGP knowledge seekers. Uh, Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation. Now, ma'am, it's time for our
Thank
question
you.
and answer session. which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinars. Honorable ma'am, please stay with us. After a short video, we'll be back in our session part 2, which is the question answer part. Okay, ma'am?
Okay.
Dear IGP knowledge seekers, ask your question in the comment box. As much as you want to know from our speaker, thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have webinar certification and online quiz competition. After short video, we'll be back. So please stay with us and enjoy our session. Once again, welcome back everyone. It's time for our question answer session. If you have any question, you can ask in our comment box. Our speaker will answer those questions. Let's welcome back our ma'am. Once again. Once again, welcome back, ma'am.
Hello? Yes.
Ma'am, our first question from Nifrim Baraha. What should the candidate to avoid the IELTS speaking test? Many thanks.
Mhm. Hello, Leah Trim. Leah Trim, right? Okay. What should a candidate avoid? Okay. Well, basically just avoid the points that would give you markdown on your score. So what are those points? Okay, firstly, repetitive. Do not keep on repeating the vocabularies or the ideas that you have already mentioned previously. Okay, another one, long pause. So I discourage very long pause. If you think you need time to think, then it would be better to use a sentence starter or positive fillers like example. Um, well, thank you so much for that question, but in my observation, something like that while you're thinking of the next ideas, right? Another one is the volume of your voice should not keep on changing. I mean, you should maintain the volume of your voice The only thing that would keep on changing is your tone, your stress, like that. Okay, in this way, the examiner will understand clearly what you're trying to say. Okay, another one, things that you need to avoid. What else did I notice before? Yeah, long pause, too much repetition of words. Okay, I'm sorry, those are what I can think right now. Okay, sorry. So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question from ED IE. Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. Can we use the IELTS result in place of the EPT when applying for the DPT?
DepEd, Department of Education. Well, I'm so sorry to say, but I'm not sure about that. Though IELTS is actually international, but it still depends on the institution if they would accept IELTS as a replacement of the EPT. So I'm sorry, it depends actually on DepEd if they would accept that. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Mm, the next question from Jonathan. Kindly expound on the concept of lexical.
Mm-mm. Hi, John Tan. Yes. Well, for the lexical resource, this focuses mainly on the vocabulary. Okay, so this is for them to, for the examiner to check if you really have a lot of vocabularies in your mind. Do you use different vocabularies in every sentence, or you keep on repeating it? Do you use idioms, or do you paraphrase? Just mainly focus on how you use the vocabularies in your answer. Okay, so that's how it is related in the IELTS test.
Yeah, IGP knowledge seeker, we are still waiting for your question. If you have any question, you can ask in our comment box. Our speaker will answer the questions. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, you can ask your question in our comment box. Our speaker will answer. Well, I think we covered all of our question. There is no more question. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topics. It will add some value to our day-to activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable ma'am, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new date.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you.
and
Thank
take
you.
care.
Take care.
Okay. After some after short video, we'll be back in our certification process. So please stay with us and enjoy our session. Once again, welcome back, everyone. It's time for our certification process, but we are sorry because today some of our technical problem we cannot share our today's webinar code. We will provide in the code in a short time. Thank you, dear IGP knowledge seeker. We are sorry to for today's some for technical problem we cannot share our today's webinar code. We will provide you the code in a short time. Thank you. I repeat, today's one of our technical problem. We cannot share our today's webinar code. We'll provide the code in a short time. Thank you. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, time for the most engaging part of this webinar, which is the online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activity. Now time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. First, you have to go www.slido.com and find today's quiz or scan this QR code for direct joining. Quiz code is morning. Quiz code is morning. MORNING morning. After a short video, we'll be back and start our quiz session. So please everyone join and enjoy our quiz session and don't forget to mention your face to join our quiz session. After quiz session, we share our quiz certification process. So please stay with us and enjoy our quiz session. Dear IGP Nolosika, now we'll start our quiz session, so please everyone be ready. First question is IELTS stands for option 1 International English Language Listing System. Second option is International English Language Training System. Option 1, option 2. এখন একটা প্রবলেম শুনতেছি তাড়াতাড়ি বলছি নাকি and the correct answer is option 1 International English Language Testing System and 91% people are right. In the leaderboard, we can see the top one is Michelle Danashine. In the second position, we have Charlie. In third position, we have Robbie. Now we go for a second one question. And the question is, what is the minimum IELTS requirement for foundation program? Option 1, 5.0. Second option is 6.0. I. And the correct answer is option 1, 5.0. And 78% people are right. Okay, our next question, and the question is what is the IELTS score requirement for the international year 1? Option 1, 5.5 with no component value from UKVI approved center. Second option is 5.0 with no component value from UKVI approved center. And the correct answer is option 1, and 61% people are right. Our next question, which playlist of the IELTS assistance YouTube channel would you recommend for CDI IELTS videos? Option 1, official support for IELTS playlist. Second option, explaining IELTS on computer tools. And the correct answer is option 2, and 45% people are right. Now I go forward. Fifth one question. The question is which support tool do candidates receive when they register and pay for their IELTS test? Option 1, Macure online course, IELTS Master. Second option is IELTS Advantage. তারপরে লিডার বোর্ড দেখাই না মানে কোশ্চেন ওদের কাছে যাই না এখন একটা স্লাইডে তো স্টপ করে the correct answer is option 1 and 48% people are right. Move to our next question. Which IELTS support guide provides an overview of the IELTS test and useful preparation material? Option 1 IELTS support tools booklet. Second option is information for candidates booklet. Which IELTS support guide provides an overview of the IELTS test and useful preparation material? Option 1 or option 2. And the correct answer is option 1 IELTS support tools booklet, and 82% people are right. In the leadweight vote, you can see the top one is Perfect to C Carbon. In second position, I have Hippocrates Bharat. In third position, I have Charlie Saliajo Yamaguchi. Now we go for our seventh question. And the question is I was looking for IELTS test dash online in preparation for my exam next week. Option 1. Parts. Second option samples. Option 1 parts. Second option is sample. I was looking for IELTS test dash online in preparation for my exam next week. Is it option 1 or option 2? Now you can see the correct answer, and the correct answer is option 2 samples, and 86% people are right. After our next question, the question is what does EAP stand for? Option 1 English and punctuation, English for academic purpose. Option 1 English and punctuation. The second option is English for academic purpose. What does EAP? What does EAP stand for? আমি চলে যেতে পারতেছি শেষ করে দিই কিন্তু কোশ্চেনগুলো যাবে না তখন আবার কমপ্লেন আসবে যে আমি কোশ্চেন দিই নাই and the correct answer is option 2 English for academic purpose, and 91% people are right. Move to the next question. The question is what does ASSB stand for? Option 1 the Association of Advanced Collegiate Schools of Business. Second option is Alliance of Academic Schools of Business. What does ASCSB stand for? Is it option 1 the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business? Second option is Alliance of Academic. The correct answer is option 1 and 52% people are right. Last and final question, huh? Okay. কে বিটেড করে? This sign is for option 3 hours 3 weeks. তুমি চা খাও না সেটা ঘুরাচ্ছে আমি এটা বলছি। দেখছি কি অবস্থা করতেছে কোন একটা এটা ইদানিং বেশি করতেছে। না। And the correct answer is 3 hours and 30% will arrive. Congratulations, perfect to see carbon. He is our top one. In second position, we have Hippocrates Bharat. In third position, we have Cran Hamley. In fourth position, we have Michael Parashina. In fifth position, we have Evelyn Watley. Uh, Congratulations, our top 10 quiz competition winner. We have all of your name which you entered during joining. We'll pick your name and paper certificate and we'll post them on our Facebook official page and group. Our Facebook official page and group name is Institution of Global Professionals. Congratulations to the uh, webinar online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slide will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that, we issue our online quiz competition certificates on our Facebook official page and group. Our page and group name is Institute of Global Professionals. Congratulations to our webinar online quiz competition winner top 10. Congratulations again. Slide will take a few minutes for finalizing the result, and after that we'll issue our online quiz competition certificate on our Facebook official page and group. Our page and group name is Institution of Global Profession. At the end moment of a session, you can say properly, feed your skill, never stop learning cause life never stop teaching us. Be happy and stay safe. See you again and again. We wanted participation in our every program. If you want to live a happy life, tie it to core, not to people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I say or hit the end live button, again wants to thanks all IGP knowledge seeker for your active participation as always. See you in our next session. Till that, stay happy and blessed. Thank you so much, everyone.